Hello, hello, and welcome back to Real Talk.
The show where we talk about all things film and TV. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Callie.
I'm Redmond.
And you better stay tuned, because we have some amazing stuff coming up for you. Should we tell them?
Yeah, I think we should. Up first, we have new to Netflix, where our correspondents Ingrid and Ryan dive deep into the recently added on Netflix and tell you what you do not want to miss in the next coming months.
Then it's the part of the show where we talk about the people who have helped to influence and shape the film and TV industry.
Next up, Then versus Now, where we take to the streets.
And social media.
Yes, and social media to find out whether the general public prefer remakes or originals.
This is followed by Into the Spotlight, the part of the show where we investigate how streaming services like Netflix have revolutionised television and brought TV and films into the spotlight.
Gosh, that was awful. And finally, in Real Talk fashion, we are celebrating the Oscars with our very own rewards. Yes, the real Oscars.
Original. Yeah, real original. And of course we have the Real List, as usual, where we count down to our favourite films and TV this week.
Speaking of, should we find out what the first on the list?
I think we should. Here's number 5 on the Real List.
At number 5 on the list, we have the 1991 classic Silence of the Lambs. It was directed by Jonathan Demme and it stars Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter and Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling. It's won many awards including Best Picture and Best Actor in a Leading Role. That's why it deserves number 5 on our list.
I'm going to be honest with you, I have never watched Silence of the Lambs.
I've never watched it either.
Oh,
Never.
that's good then, that's good that I'm not the only
Yeah,
one.
I'll look into it, We'll see how it is. But enough of that. It is now the part of the show where we talk to our correspondents about what's coming to Netflix soon. It's new to Netflix.
So, welcome Ingrid and Ryan to the studio.
Hello, thanks guys.
Hello.
So tell us, what have we in our audience, what should we be looking forward to in the next coming months?
Well, there's some fantastic things coming on Netflix. So the highlights at the minute, we've got the Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj has been ongoing as well. That's been fantastic. Arrested Development comes back for a 5th season. Genuinely very excited about that. I've lost sleep. I am so excited. Kung Fu Hustle comes onto Netflix midway through this month. It's kind of a Kung Fu pantomime. And we've got the Santa Clarita Diet comes back as well this month too, which would be brilliant. But the ones I want to talk about are Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. So both these films were released quite a few years ago in 2002 and 2004, new to Netflix now. It follows the Scooby Gang, Monsters Inc. as they investigate mysteries and solve the more eerie things that are going on there. But it also stars Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. The reason why that's interesting is because Sarah Michelle Gellar, fresh off Buffy the Vampire Slayer at the time the film was released, she plays Daphne, who in the cartoons was the kind of character who gets kidnapped all the time, the damsel in distress. So they recode that character, casting Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they do something wonderfully interesting with her there. So check that one out.
And if you like mysteries, you're probably gonna love The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It's coming up with the 2nd season. The 1st season proved to be very, very exciting, very good. And this is you need to be aware, this is an obscure version of the traditional Sabrina the Teenage Witch comics. It also became the 90s TV show. It was very light-hearted and sweet, but this is dark, and we all loved it. Sabrina Spellman is currently being played by Shannon Kipman, and then the same thing is, this is a story about a half-witch, half-mortal individual, but she's living this secret life, so it's going to be very exciting, and it's coming up on the 5th of April, so watch out.
On a slightly lighter note, of course, we've got Brooklyn Nine-Nine coming back for a 5th season on Netflix. Possibly one of the funniest TV shows around at the minute, certainly one of the most interesting. We've got Cancelled in America. The fan community loved it so much, another network picked it up for a season 6 that's currently airing. So before season 6 finishes, check out season 5 on Netflix. So if you don't know what it is, it's a group of Brooklyn detectives in the NYPD, various assortment of characters. They investigate crimes. It's kind of like a sitcom based in the police department. It stars Andy Samberg, who is brilliant in it, along with Melissa Fumaro. Terry Crews is great in it, and Chelsea Perez is also fantastic. It's witty, it's humorous, it's very imaginative, it's really, really popular, so check that one out as well.
And you cannot miss Orange is the New Black. It's coming up for the last last season ever, the 7th season. It's unfortunate because there is been so many stories within this. It is based on a true story. Piper Kerman was in prison for 15 months, and in there she found all these stories about women, and these are true. But also the series is trying to tell about how is the justice system and how it's not working very well. So this is very entertaining. It is telling you all the things you need to know about it. Seasons 1 to 6 in Netflix available now. No release date yet.
I'd love Orange is the New Black. The first few seasons were fantastic.
Yes.
One of my highlights is coming out today. Actually, it's The Afterlife. So that stars. It's written, directed, and stars Ricky Gervais. Obviously, we know him from The Office and Extras and Hollywood. He's a massive star. Brilliant, funny comedian. He plays Tony, whose life absolutely falls apart after the death of his wife, and he decides to punish the world by kind of doing whatever he wants to do. He doesn't really care about the consequences. I think many people will be thinking it's more comedy, but it looks to be a bit more dramatic as well. So it's going to tug on the heartstrings. Thanks to an Instagram poll, a whopping 71% of you guys out there are really looking forward to it as well.
Well, those all sound amazing.
Yes. I'll definitely be checking those out, and make sure you do. Thanks to Ingrid and Ryan for joining us.
Thank you. We've also been talking to Instagram to find out what you guys are currently watching. And the most popular answers were Elite, Mindhunter, Umbrella Academy, and Haunting of Hill House.
They all sound amazing. They're all coming out on Netflix now. So make sure you check out the shows and keep lookout for shows coming out soon.
Now here is number 4 on the real list. Enjoy.
At number 4 on the list we have Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This stars Andy Samberg, Melissa Fumero and many more actors. This had loads of directors over its 5-year span and has won 2 Golden Globe Awards, including one for Best TV Series. This is why it deserves number 4 on our list.
I really enjoy Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, honestly, it's one of my favourite TV shows. I will tell you that now.
I've never watched it. I've never have.
There's something wrong with you.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
Not a lot of us have time to just sit in and watch Netflix. Some people have stuff to do.
all right.
Now, it's part of the show where we discuss the brilliant people who have influenced the film and TV industry with Ingrid and Ryan. This week, we are discussing the 3 Mexican directors who have been taking Hollywood by storm.
Well, these icons are none other than the 3 amigos, Guillermo del Toro, Alfonso Cuarón, and Alejandro González Iñárritu.
So tell us, what do they do within the industry? Is it just directing, or is there screenplays?
Yeah.
Script writing, I was meant to say.
Well, they've all had a range of jobs, yes. They all kind of write their own materials. They've been producers and editors, but one thing they do have in common is that they're all Mexican directors and possibly the best directors in the world at the minute as well.
What do you like about their works? Because they are quite unique, aren't they? They are very, very special.
They are, no, indeed. So the 3 of them have in common that they're trying to raise up the minorities, coming from a country that is it was poor intellectually and economically. They're trying to raise people, and that's very nice because they're trying to live, nowadays they're trying to live a little bit of commercial stuff, which is great. And they are very creative. They started with nothing, and they are all very creative. And so when they have a budget such as in Hollywood, or Netflix on this occasion now, they have the opportunity to show off their creativity. So they talk about the monsters inside. That's perfect.
In your opinion, who is the best? Do you have a favourite?
Well, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, it's Guillermo del Toro. I love his work. His work is sublime. So he's a Mexican filmmaker. He's a director. He started off doing special effects and makeup as well, and he kind of migrated over into making his own films. His films are both English language and Spanish language. He does science fiction. He does horror. He does beautiful romance. His films are always hauntingly wonderful, but it always has a recurring theme in that he tends to explore war-torn areas, and there's always a monstrous male or patriarch who kind of dominates everybody else, and a young child, or particularly a young girl, has to overcome the oppression of the man in order to find herself. So my particular favourite of his is Pan's Labyrinth, and I can't recommend people watching that enough. It got 22 minutes of standing ovation where it aired at Cannes Film Festival quite a few years ago, and it is a sublime piece of work.
I love his Shape of Water, by the way.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I have a soft spot for Cuarón, if I'm quite honest. Iñárritu has beautiful works. He gave Leonardo DiCaprio his first Oscar, so The Revenant has to be watched. Also beautiful from Iñárritu, beautiful. But Cuarón, if you have the chance to go on Netflix, watch Roma and hear Roma, it will be fantastic. Also Gravity.
for Quaron.
I would add for Coron as well, in that so Roma was a Netflix original show, Netflix original film. It got wide distribution in cinemas. It's kind of changing the game for how Netflix are showing their films on Netflix and cinemas at the same time. Won multiple Oscars for it, beautiful cinematography, and he seems to be at the forefront of the changing nature of media at the minute.
Wow, that was very interesting from your part. Thank you though for joining us today. Thank you, Ryan and Ingrid. Hopefully we'll have you back in the future.
Again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Should we say it?
Oh, I think we should.
Yeah. Run VT.
At number 3 on our list, we have End of the World, directed by Jonathan Entwistle, and it stars Jessica Barden, Alex Lawther and Steve Oram. It's won many awards, including a BAFTA and a Best Drama Series. That's why it's number 3 on our list.
So, I've never even heard of that. Like,
Have you not?
No.
It is so good. I watched the whole season in one night.
oh,
Don't know how I
God.
did it, but it is worth the watch, I promise you. But I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Remakes or originals?
I do prefer originals, but there have been some really good remakes, I'll admit. There have been.
In my experience, originals have always been the
Yeah.
best. So, shall we both say it?
What do I say?
Run VT.
Do you like films? I do like films, yes. Do you prefer originals or remakes? I prefer remakes over originals. And do you have a favourite remake?
Blade Runner 2049.
Any reason why?
I felt like the new angles and more upgraded technology that they have now made it better than the original, because you had lots more colour and vibrance, which was like a big deal from the first Blade Runner, as well as the new camera techniques that we've developed, and post-production is a lot more of a cinematic experience than the first one.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Do you like films?
Yeah,
Do you prefer remakes or originals?
originals.
Do you have a favourite?
It.
Any reason why?
Because it was good, better.
Do you like film?
I love film.
Do you have an opinion on originals versus remakes?
I think generally the original is better because a lot of the time remakes are just cash grabs based on the title, but I think there are examples of good remakes. Like a bad remake that's just for the title would be the Total Recall from like 2009. That's a really bad film. But a good remake would be the 1983 Scarface. That's a remake of the Howard Hawks film, and the 1983 one is actually, I would say, a superior film.
And do you have a favourite remake?
Probably Scarface. It's just, I think it's a really good update to the idea, brings it to a new generation, a new decade really well. Just brilliant film all round.
I love films. I think they're an important part of our culture.
Do you prefer remakes or originals?
I think it depends on the production. There are productions that are the original's better, but I think there are ones where the remake is far superior.
Can you give us an example?
So there's a remake that I preferred over the original is David Fincher's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Why did you like
I think his visual style of filmmaking is something that I've always been attracted to, and that's no different with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, I like a film. I watch quite a lot of films. It's what I do in my spare time, really.
And do you have an opinion on originals versus remakes?
Normally, I tend to prefer the originals just because they're classics. However, there's one exception to that, and that's with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't really know why I prefer it, but with the remake, I don't know, I just prefer it.
See, I do like remakes though. I love the Jungle Book remake. Have you seen?
Yes, that is very good.
Really good remake.
It is a big argument amongst our
That is
society.
true.
Remakes
That
or
is true.
originals. We'll never know.
Yeah.
We also run a poll on Instagram to find out 63% of you guys are excited to see the new Lion King remake.
That's got Beyonce in it, hasn't it? That's the one. She plays Nala. Yeah.
I'm still not sure about it. I'm not.
It's got Beyonce in it.
We also ran a poll on Twitter asking people whether they preferred remakes or originals.
The results were surprising and showed a 50-50 split. It's clear that you prefer it's down to personal preference. And although remakes sometimes get a lot of hate, they can sometimes be good or better than the original.
Well, after that, I bet you're just dying to know what is number 2 on the real list. So here it is.
Enjoy.
At number 2 on our list, we have Black Mirror. It contains a highly talented cast and it was written by Charlie Brooker, with many directors. It's won 6 Emmys, including an outstanding TV movie. That's why it should be on number 2 on our list.
Have you not watched it?
No, I've seen a lot of it. I've just never thought to watch it.
They do mess with your head.
Oh,
They are very creepy.
okay.
Now, it's the part of the show where we shine a light on what streaming services like Netflix have done to revolutionise TV.
Yes, you guessed it, it's Into the Spotlight.
Run VT.
I think the television industry has been completely turned upside down by the arrival of the internet. It didn't happen overnight. The internet's been with us properly since about 1995 or so. But now, more recently, with the arrival of streaming platforms, television is not what it used to be. It's not the television in the corner of the lounge. It's not the box in the corner of the living room that your parents might have been used to. Television is something different now. In fact, a lot of people don't recognise the word television. Television is content, it's media, it's a streaming platform. These words are not television anymore, but essentially it's the same thing. It's just not what we understand by using that word. One of the biggest things about television consumption is that less people are watching TV, and it's a major, major worry to the BBC, ITV, Channel 4. These are businesses, huge organisations that rely on viewers. They rely on viewers to sell adverts to, they rely on viewers to pay licence fees to get people to watch their content. But if less people are watching television, then these broadcasters become a little less relevant and a little worried that the competition, by way of Amazon, Netflix, more recently we'll be seeing much more of Google and Facebook competing for those same eyeballs. So the arrival of streaming platforms, the arrival of the internet, the arrival of the web, the arrival of this different form of media consumption is turning things upside down on many, many, many levels. People write books about it. It's a huge question and it's of huge significance, and it's happening every day. We're living a revolution. Given that most people can watch television, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, on demand on streaming platforms without a licence, without it costing them anything, then the BBC is in a real pickle, because if people stop paying the licence, they don't get the money to make the programmes. And the BBC has responded in a number of ways. When the BBC first noticed that people weren't watching television on television, they did a number of things. The first thing was to move one of their channels devoted to young people online. They took it off broadcast, scheduled TV, and they put it as a website. And that was great. It's been very, very successful. And in fact, often some programmes become so popular online on BBC Three that they then migrate back onto television. And it's become quite a nice thing. There'll never be a shortage of demand for the moving image. Going to the cinema has never been more popular. You'd think, hold on, Netflix is around, you can watch anything you like from the comfort of your own home. More people are going to the cinema than ever before. Why? People like stories, they like shared experiences, they like the occasion and the event. It's the same with television. Television is going through huge changes, but people are watching lots of television. They might not call it television, they may not think it is television, they certainly might not be paying for it as television, but on their phone, on their mobile, on their computer, it is the moving image. This means that the demand for moving images, the demand for people to make moving images for the screen is only rising.
Yeah.
Learn a bit about that.
There's a lot of views from different people.
Yes, there is.
We also wanted to know what you guys at home think of streaming services such as Netflix.
After a staggering amount of replies, when asked on a scale of 1 to 100 how much they like Netflix, the average answer was 100%.
Wow, you all seem to love Netflix.
Now is the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for.
It's number one on the real list.
Coming in on number 1 on our list, it stars Asa Butterfield and Gillian Anderson. It was directed by Kate Herring and Ben Taylor. That's right, it's Sex Education. Sadly, it's won no awards yet, but we like it, so it's at number 1.
I have never watched it, any of it, ever.
Have you not?
No, I haven't.
When you get home, put it on straight away.
Maybe.
Promise me that.
No.
Welcome back. That was an interesting number one.
We have decided here at Real Talk that we want to celebrate the Oscars by hosting our very own award show, the Real Oscars.
And even though we think the winners of this year's Oscars were well deserved, we still wanted to give some recognition to other films and actors who we think were incredible too.
So let's get into the awards.
The first award of the Real Oscars is for the Best Picture, and we are awarding it to The Black Klansman, the comedy based on the incredible true story of Ben Stillworth.
The next award is for Best Animated Feature, and the award goes to Incredibles 2, the long-awaited superhero sequel adored by old and new fans.
Whoa! I like Mom's new job! Bye, sweetie.
I'll watch the kids, no problem.
And now it is the award for the Best Sound Editing, and it goes to A Quiet Place, the post-apocalyptic science fiction horror film starring Emily Blunt and John Krasinski.
Moving on to the Best Visual Effects, the award goes to Avengers Infinity War, the epic superhero film that features all your favourite heroes teaming up together to fight Thanos.
In time, you will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it.
Best Actor in a Leading Role goes to Bradley Cooper, A Star Is Born.
And Best Actress in Leading Role is awarded to Lady Gaga, A Star Is Born. Here at Real Talk, we thought their performances were outstanding.
Well, that was an amazing show.
Hey.
What?
I just want to take another look at you.
In all the good times, I find myself longing for change.
I'm afraid so.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Very true. So thank you all for tuning in.
Yes, also a huge thank you to our guests, Ingrid and Ryan, and of course our correspondents out in the world.
Thanks to the crew also, and also you, our lovely audience, for tuning in.
We hope that you enjoyed our show, and from everyone here at Real Talk, have a good rest of the week.
Until next time, goodbye.